In politics, loss aversion is a very powerful force.
The more we can chip away at this narrative that he is the strong foil to Joe Biden's weakness, the better shape we're in because it eliminates Trump's competitive advantage.
Welcome to Political Experts React, where we break down political ads and media, explain what the people behind them are trying to accomplish, and decide whether or not they did a good job. I'm Dan Pfeiffer, former communications director for Barack Obama, and joining me today is political commentator and co-host of Crooked Media's original video series, Liberal Tears, Brian Tyler Cohen. Brian Tyler Cohen, welcome back to Political Experts React. How you doing, man?
Dan, thanks for having me. Excited to do this.
All right, we got a couple of fun ads we're going to look at today. And the first one we're going to do is an ad called Feeble from the Lincoln Project.
Hey, Donald, we noticed something. More and more people are saying it. You're weak. You seem unsteady. You need help getting around. And wow.
An anonymous, really an anonymous country, and you deserve.
Are you sure you don't have dementia? It runs in the family. Have you had a real doctor check you out? You keep confusing things.
And we did with Obama. We won an election.
Getting the facts wrong.
We just left pleasure. Paradise.
People laugh about it, about you.
Bing, bing.
Even your own people behind your back. You're winning the primary, but losing your power, your strength, your manhood. Face it, Donald. You're just projecting when you call Joe Biden old. He's stronger than you, fitter than you, smarter than you, a better man and a better president. Anyone can see it. And when you lay there at night, alone, you know we're right. You're falling apart, Donald. Breaking down, right in front of our eyes.
God bless the United States.
What do you think about this, Brian?
All right, so I'm going to be honest. I'm not entirely sure that Lincoln Project content is even intended for anyone other than us. So that's my caveat. I think their Republican credentials are pretty much shot by now. With that said, I have two thoughts on this. On the content, I actually quite like the message. If you subscribe to Dan Pfeiffer's message box, you would know that we shouldn't amplify strength as far as Donald Trump is concerned, because that's how he derives his power, right? He frames himself as strong and as tough. And I think that the more we can chip away at this narrative that he is the strong foil to Joe Biden's weakness, the better shape we're in because it eliminates Trump's competitive advantage. And by the way, it's not like we're lying, right? Trump is a bumbling fucking idiot. He doesn't know that World War II already happened. He thinks that Jeb Bush got us involved in the war in the Middle East. He's confused Biden and Obama more than half a dozen times now. He just figured out that US for United States also spells us. When this guy brags that he passed a dementia test, I think we should probably take something out of that. If you're bragging that you could identify an elephant, you're probably telling us something, right? So the more that we can mainstream the fact that Trump is a doddering, confused old man, the faster we can eliminate this bogus notion that somehow he's the sharp one running in 2024. I'm not against the Lincoln Project making these ads. I'd rather have them than not make these ads, even if their value is kind of suspect. But if an ad like this reaches two people in Georgia or Nevada who are on the fence, then I think they did their job. This ad did their job. Like if one of my videos influences two people who wouldn't have otherwise voted for a Democrat to do so, then I've done my job. So all things considered, I'm glad they're part of the ecosystem. I think there's room in our tent for everyone, and I'm glad they're giving a permission structure to other disaffected Republicans to know that it is okay not to partake in the Trump cult and to know that they have a community of like-minded conservatives who exists out there. So net, I think this one is a win for me, even if the messenger isn't perfect.
This ad to me is, like you say, it's designed for people like us. It's actually, and you hint at this, is designed for one person, actually. Donald Trump. Like they are desperately trying to get Donald Trump to respond, because if he posts on Truth Social about him, they can then go around and raise some money and the ad will get more circulation. So that's why they do the thing, the not so subtle hint that he and Melania sleep in separate beds and that she is not really with them. It's like when you're lying alone at night and they show that video of her walking. This is their shtick. It's been their shtick since the beginning. And like a lot of Lincoln Project content, it's designed for Trump. It is also designed for liberals online to share. I have long advocated, going back to 2020, that Democrats need to portray Donald Trump as weak. The way you defeat a strongman is not by raising fears about what they use for the strength. It's explaining that their authoritarianism emanates from weakness. And I think that we should respond to Donald Trump saying he wants to be a dictator by saying something along the lines of, Donald Trump is weak. He's a coward. He bows down to dictators. He's actually even running for president not to help you, but because he's desperately trying to avoid facing the consequences for the crimes he committed while he was in office. And making him seem weak and like a clown is great. Like, I think we should do more of that. And you can see it in the polls too, where in 2020, Joe Biden had a huge advantage on Donald Trump on mental fitness for office. He now trails significantly on that margin. Now, a lot of that is because concerns about Joe Biden's mental fitness have gone up, but concerns about Donald Trump's mental fitness have gone down 4 points over the last 3 years. And so, like, there's real upside in re-raising those concerns and reminding people why they were so concerned about him as president in 2020 that they were willing to vote him out.
Yeah. And by the way, people have a super short attention span with this stuff anyway. So the more we can promote this stuff because people forgot what it was like because we're in the TikTok era, I think it'll be more helpful.
Hey, it's Dan Pfeiffer, and I'm here to talk to you about my brand new subscription-exclusive series, Polar Coaster. Polar Coaster is the real political junkies among us looking for in-depth analysis of the biggest national polls, the latest voter trends, and the tightest down-ballot races. Let's all process our anxieties together, and hopefully we'll all come away feeling better, or at least knowing whether or not it's time to hit the panic button. New episodes drop twice a month for Friends of the Pod subscribers. Visit crooked.com/friends to learn more and sign up for access. The next ad we're going to watch is from the DNC and the Biden campaign.
My name's Jody. I've been a pediatric nurse for 18 years. I love what I do, but we definitely need more support. The last administration's policies were so troubling, and our healthcare system has become a business, and people are becoming billionaires off the backs of sick people. I've seen the heartbreak when parents are trying to figure out how they're going to pay for a medicine to keep their kid healthy. But we are seeing lots of positive changes, and thanks to President Biden and Vice President Harris, families can afford medication now. The Biden administration lowered the cost of prescription drugs and passed laws to make healthcare more affordable. The idea that we could go back to the policies that help the rich get richer and left so many people behind, I don't want to go back. I can't go back.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
This ad is, in many ways, the polar opposite of the one we just watched. What do you think of it?
It's like the guy sat down and said, what could be the only thing worse than 91 criminal charges and Republican abortion bans and a lunatic political party, and said, I know, I'll attack the ACA. So that we're clear, the last time Republicans ran on overturning the ACA was ahead of the midterms in 2018. They lost the House by the biggest margin in modern American history. I think it was 41 seats in the House. They tried to repeal the ACA something like 70 times. They failed legislatively, and then they were punished at the ballot box. And for a brief moment, Republicans seemed to recognize that perhaps they should just take the L and stem the bleeding. Until now, when, of course, Trump's decided to again attack the ACA. So look, if Biden and Democrats have the opportunity to relitigate this issue, then by all means, I think that they should definitely do that. I think the strength of this ad is that it extols Biden's virtues. It hits on really popular provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act. A small criticism that I have is I do wish the references to Trump were more explicit when they say we can't go back. I think that's too vague when Donald Trump is handing you the gift of saying we are going to strip healthcare away from tens of millions of Americans. So use his words and don't be coy. But otherwise, I think that this ad will resonate with people who believe rightfully that healthcare is a critical issue.
What I think is very notable about this ad is two things. One, the Affordable Care Act has never been more popular than it is now, and the fact that Donald Trump stepped in that was a gift, and it's good the Biden campaign jumped on it. Second, in politics, particularly in an age of high cynicism like this, loss aversion is a very powerful force. Meaning people are going to be very skeptical. You're going to be able to give them new things, right? Because our political system is broken. They don't really trust politicians. But if it's something they have and they know they have, the idea it's going to be taken away from them is incredibly powerful. And the thing that I think is interesting stylistically about this is the only ads that really work right now are either using a politician's own words against him, like if Donald Trump had said that at a rally as opposed to posting on Truth Social, you could just show him to camera. And the other thing is affected voters, actual regular people. You know, the most viral and impactful ad of 2023 was the ad from the young woman in Kentucky talking about what the impact for an abortion made with no exceptions would mean. And so you're going to see a lot of ads like the one we just saw in this coming cycle because it's one of the few ways you can still communicate with persuadable voters. All right, people, it's holiday party season. And if there's one surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after a night of drinking, it's with Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists, as if there were any other kind, to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Crooked Media recently had its annual holiday party. I was unable to go. I had some family things to do at home. But ZBiotics was kind enough to send the staff an entire box of their product, and the results are in. And I can say this because I saw this on Slack all weekend. The Crooked staff woke up feeling great and ready to tackle the huge backlog of content that we all have to get done before the holidays. So go to zbiotics.com/experts to get 15% off your first order when you use experts at checkout. Thanks to ZBiotics for sponsoring this episode and making me feel better after all my holiday parties. All right, the last ad we're going to watch today is from the Republican Accountability Project.
George Santos became just the 6th person ever expelled from Congress. More than 100 of his fellow Republicans voted to boot him. What did he do wrong?
Oh, nothing Donald Trump didn't also do.
Donald Trump was the 45th president of the United States. I'd say that him and I are one and the same.
They're both under felony indictments, run fraudulent businesses, stole money from veterans, misused campaign funds, investigated by Congress, lied about 9/11, used fake identities to promote themselves, and they both lied about being richer than they are. There are a few differences. Santos didn't start an insurrection. Santos didn't call for the termination of the Constitution. Santos didn't suggest that America's former top general should be executed. If Republicans rejected George Santos, they must reject Donald Trump.
What do you think of this one?
I get what this ad is trying to do, obviously, but my concern here is that at its core, this ad is a critique of Trump's inability to tell the truth, and I have real concerns about how effective that is. Like, we know that Donald Trump's a liar. That's been reported on ad nauseum. I'm doubtful that an attack predicated on Donald Trump lying would have any impact in 2024. Look, George Santos was expelled not because it was some principled stand by Republicans. He was expelled because Republicans viewed him as a political liability. He was terrible for their brand, and that's saying something when your brand is insurrectionists and handjobs in musicals. But while George Santos is expendable, Donald Trump obviously isn't, so therein lies the problem here.
The Republican Accountability Project is the more serious counterpart to the Lincoln Project. Like, they have a very specific purpose. It's run by real political professionals who ground their decisions in data, not digital traffic, right? This is Sarah Longwell, who does the Focus Group podcast, who spends more time listening to what voters actually say than almost anyone in American politics. The audience here is twofold. One, it is in some ways Republican elites who don't love Trump. They're trying to move from silent to outspoken opponents of Trump, or people who will fund Nikki Haley or something like that. In terms of actual voters, in general, the Republican Accountability Project is targeting Biden Republicans. These are the Republicans who voted for Biden, who they're trying to keep in the fold, because we have to keep basically every single one of them. And there's a lot of evidence that we're bleeding some of them, if not to Donald Trump, to not voting, or to a generic, no labels, third-party candidate type who may or may not end up on the ballot where it matters, but that's sort of where we are. The problem here is it's not going to really mean that much to a lot of voters. There's just no context for it, right? They kind of maybe know he's a crook. They know a lot of Republicans are crooks, but they don't really get it. To the extent I think it has some strategic value, which I think is important, is what they're doing is a tactic I like to call news surfing, where it's like there's this thing in the news people may be hearing about, particularly because Santos is getting a little bit of Bravo reality show type fame right now, jumping from political news into sort of viral TikTok, Instagram type traffic. And this is a chance to say, oh, people heard something about Santos. He's kind of a crook. Here's also Trump stuff. But, you know, the hit rate on that probably isn't super high. We'll leave it there. Brian Tyler Cohen, thank you for coming back on Political Experts React, and hope you have a great holiday.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it, and we'll see how this does relative to Tommy's videos here, and see who the real YouTube star Crooked is.
I had to have you on because Tommy's been riding your traffic coattails for months now. But look, everyone's got their own audiences, and sometimes it's quality over quantity. I don't know what to say.
That's right.
Thanks for watching these ads and videos with us. If you have anything you'd like us to break down, let us know in the comments. Hope everyone has a great holiday.